Hey, what's going on, guys and gals? Troy, ATXRC Productions here, CheFPV, all that stuff. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Find us. Drone and multi-rotor reviews, tips, tricks, unboxings, all that stuff. Today, we're going to talk to you about batteries, how they affect your copter, and how you basically, with a consumer drone, need to understand a little more about the battery and how it operates and what voltages and how they affect the performance of the copter, and basically when you cannot use a battery without fully charging it. The short answer is never. When you use in a consumer drone a battery that is not fully charged, the chance and the failure rate is tremendously increased due to something to do with battery performance or power related, and possibly crashing or destroying or even endangering somebody. So I just want to make sure that you understand. I technically am never saying you should never not use a fully charged battery when you operate your copter. I will give you a couple of situations that I do flirt that line, but it's very specific. Before we get there, I'm going to talk about a couple of dumb batteries, because these are technically considered smart batteries. What that means is you press a button on them and they display the voltages and tell you what capacity they're at. They also, in other situations like the Phantom and the Inspires and the DJI series batteries, can actually be programmed to discharge at specific times for health reasons. Batteries should be discharged. The solo battery, which is here, the 3DR solo battery, does discharge itself, though it's not as accessible and you cannot change it the way that it functions the way you can with the DJI copter using the Go app. The Go app has a lot of critical information that you should look at. It tells you individual cell count checks. So in this situation here, we have a 4S 1800 tattoo. I'm not really concerned with the discharge rate because we're not going to get that deep. I'm not really even caring about the milliamp hours that much. But you do need to know that the milliamp hours is basically the capacity of the energy. So the battery can store energy. In this case, stores it in 3 battery cells. So essentially it's 3 batteries together, or I'm sorry, 4, it's a 4S. This is 4 batteries running together that provide the total voltage that you'll see. Each battery has its own health. Each battery has its own capacity. They should be matched, and so much so that they're identical in age, use, all of that stuff from the start, what it actually is composed of, the material, the exact formulas, and everything, and all cells are all perfect in a vacuum when you receive it, technically. A good battery, if used properly, will stay very close in the cells as far as the voltages that they hold and discharge and recharge to, and as far as the capacities. That being said, a bad cell can affect the total performance of a battery, or not even a bad cell, but a cell that you caused to be bad by the health of it. Each battery has its health, so if each one is perfectly matched, which in a perfect world never happens except for right when you first pull it off the charger a lot of the times, it hardly ever happens that each cell is perfect. There is some difference. So this battery, it's reading its 4 cells. It all reads 15.2. The first cell 3.83, 3.76, 3.91, 3.77. So basically there's about a 0.16 difference in voltage across all cells in this one. It's not great, but it's not bad. This is actually a used pack. It has been charged and then discharged. Now 15.2 is what it reads now. Funny enough, when I pulled it out the copter, it read 14.7. So where did I get the 0.5? Well, I'm not going to explain all that, but the point is, I pulled this off the copter right after load, and it read 14.7, and the cells were even lower. In fact, that 3.77 cell was probably at like 3.5 or 3.47. The highest cell was probably at 3.7 something. So there was even a greater difference, I bet you, at one point. I actually have a cell in here that's not the best. I'm not treating it the best, if that's the case. So I need to make sure next time that I land sooner, because what's about to happen is, if I wouldn't have landed this copter, as soon as that cell reaches about 3.4, it's letting its life go. When it hits 3.2, you might as well just consider that cell as not powering anything, because it's about to just kill itself. And a pack will go from a certain percentage, which is calculated basically off the computers, sensors, and everything, and saying, this is the voltage we've used, this is what should have been there, this is what we read, this is blah, blah, blah. If a cell dies, it can't anticipate that. If a cell is 3.4, or let's say 3.6, and all the other cells are 4, when you first put it in, it may read a certain percentage, but as soon as you start to throttle and you really give it draw on amps and capacity, which is the milliamps inside, you try to draw some out, there's a cell that has nothing in it. And it just basically drops. It's gone. So in FPV, we see this actually a lot. Probably people kill batteries a lot, but a lot less damage and a lot of quick learning. And you learn very quickly to start looking at your cells. That's the problem with these. Parrot Bebop, not a smart battery. Just one of these batteries in here. I can't even check individual cells technically without you might be able to in the app, but I have to play with it. But I don't think so. Not a very safe battery, but whatever. I mean, it's safe. I'm just saying not for me knowing how I'm using it and health-wise. I can't really, I'm just listening to the Bebop itself. So I hope it works. And it does. When you get into your higher grade stuff, you've got the smart batteries. They've got boards in them. When you press them, they detect the voltage, start telling you what the voltage is. When they're charged, it actually balances itself here. It's got a balance charger basically inside. So you feed it voltage and it balance charges itself in these. There's no charger, like for instance, this is the charger I use to charge this battery. I hook it up to a balance board, I plug it in, and I have to basically double check that everything's right. I tell it how much to put into it, and then it balances the cells all the way up to that voltage. Here, you just plug them in, and it's doing that for you, is what makes it a smart battery. It doesn't mean it's a I can do anything battery. It's still just a battery with a dumb chip in it, man. Like, that's it. That's all it is. Don't use a battery unless it's fully charged. The reason why, one cell could be much lower, you don't know. There is a way that you should know, though. I fly multiple times on the same battery after taking it out of my copter in one situation and one type of situation only. I've had to go do tests on like antenna systems on a copter. My 3DR, for instance, where I was testing 4 different antenna sets with 4 batteries. I was flying one battery, the longest I flew what, like 4 miles or almost 5 miles, something like that, crazy. It took a whole battery. The second time, I used about 2/3 of a battery. On the third one, it didn't take long, and I still had like 65% battery, but I decided to pull that battery and drop another one in. I did that. Put a fresh battery in for the 4th test. Every test on a fresh pack, I came back, that one's at 70, right? So I flew around and I killed that battery. And then I took one of the batteries that I had before and I put it back in and it had 64 when I took it out. When I put it back in, it said 70. But then I started flying around and it drops and it gets, I got a good 5-6 minutes before it got to 30 and they warned me. Pulled it out, good. I'm okay with that. Because I controlled the amount of time between pulling the battery and when it got used again. These batteries won't go discharging themselves, auto-discharging right after. They won't do it within 10 minutes, 5, 20, 30, even an hour, probably within a couple hours. I don't know for sure on the solo. So on solo, I mean, basically same mission. I'm out on one mission. I can reuse a battery if I feel safe or I feel like it's enough. Would I ever put a battery in sub 50%, 45% and expect to do anything? No. If a battery was ever below 50, I just basically would never put it back in, even on the same mission, because you just don't know those cells. One going bad and all that gear, bro. And safety and all that also. I mean, but gear. That's why I don't do it. So the bottom line is these batteries react themselves. When you pull one off, it actually recharges a little bit, kind of, especially the smart batteries. They hold some in there, man, like in those smart components. It discharges them back into the battery. It may read something, but you power it on and it sucks it all back out. I mean, just know how these things operate. These are different batteries linked together, working together, basically. So, fly safe, fly smart, fly for fun, fly DJI, fly 3DR, fly FPV, fly whatever, man. Let'sRaceHobbies.com, guys. Check it out. Great gear over there. I appreciate it. Peace.